Commander Deho stared at the giant red warning sign floating in space. The massive beacon was bigger than his entire ship. Its lights flashed the same message in 50 different languages. Danger, no entry, human territory, turn back now. He had seen these beacons before, but only from far away. Every spaceship captain in the galaxy knew about them. They marked the edge of human space, a place no one was allowed to go. The Galactic Council had made this law 300 years ago, right after the humans disappeared. "Sir, we're getting that signal again," said Dr. Hyjin from her station. She was his science officer, a smart woman who always asked too many questions. "The math patterns are incredible. I've never seen anything like them." Deho walked over to look at her screen. Strange numbers and symbols moved across it in perfect lines. The signal was coming from inside human space, from a place that should be empty and dead. "How long has it been broadcasting?" he asked. 3 days now. "And sir, it's getting stronger." Captain Subin's voice came through the radio from her patrol ship. "Commander, my team found more debris. This stuff is not normal. The metal is made from materials we don't have, and the designs, they're at least 50 years ahead of our best technology." Deho frowned. Subin was one of his best captains. If she said the technology was advanced, he believed her. But that made no sense. The humans were gone. Everyone knew that. 300 years ago, the humans had been part of the Galactic Council. They were new members, excited to meet other species and share knowledge. Then something happened. In one day, every human ship, every human station, every human colony went silent. No distress calls, no explosions, nothing. They just stopped talking. The council sent ships to investigate. They found empty human worlds with no signs of fighting. Cities stood perfect and clean, but there were no people. It was like every human in the galaxy had simply walked away and never came back. That's when the council made the law. Human space was declared a dead zone. No one could enter. The official reason was safety. They didn't know what had happened to the humans, so it might happen to other species too. Giant warning beacons were placed at every entry point. But Deho had always wondered about the real reason. The council members were scared. He could see it in their eyes whenever anyone mentioned the humans. They were afraid of something, and that fear made them lock away an entire section of the galaxy. "Sir," Dr. Hyjin said, bringing him back to the present, "I think I know what the signal is saying." "What do you mean?" She pointed at her screen. "These aren't random patterns, they're instructions. Mathematical instructions for building something. But the math is so complex our computers can't even understand most of it." "Instructions for what?" "I don't know. But sir, whoever sent this signal wants someone to build something, and they're using math that's centuries ahead of anything we know." Captain Subin's ship moved closer to theirs. Through the window, Deho could see her vessel's lights scanning more pieces of debris. Her ship, the Harmony's Edge, was small, but fast. Perfect for patrol work. "Commander," Subin's voice came through the radio again. "You need to see this. I'm sending over images of what we found." The main screen lit up with pictures. Deho saw twisted pieces of metal that had once been spaceships. But these weren't human ships. They were something else, something he had never seen before. The metal was black and smooth, with sharp edges that hurt to look at. "What kind of ships are these?" he asked. "I don't know," Subin replied, "but they've been destroyed by weapons that don't exist. The damage patterns are impossible. It's like something tore holes in space itself to destroy these ships." Dr. Hyjin gasped. "Sir, look at this." She put a new image on the screen. It showed one of the black ships up close. Strange symbols were carved into its side. "I've seen writing like this before," she said. "In the old archives, these symbols match records from archaeological sites on dead worlds, worlds that were destroyed millions of years ago." "That's impossible," Deho said. "Sir, what if it's not?" Dr. Hyjin turned to face him. "What if the humans didn't disappear? What if they found something out here? Something dangerous?" Before Deho could answer, every screen on every ship in his fleet lit up with the same message. It was written in perfect galactic common. the language all species used to communicate. Attention, alien vessels. You have entered the outer perimeter of human territory. This is your first and final warning. Turn back now or face the consequences of your choice. The message was calm and polite, but something about it made Daeho's blood run cold. The voice that spoke the words sounded human, but different somehow, like it was coming from very far away. "Sir," his communications officer called out, "that message, it's not just being sent to us. Every ship in the galaxy just received it. Every single one, at the exact same time." Daeho stared at the warning beacon again. How could someone send a message to every ship in the galaxy at once? That was impossible. The galaxy was too big, the distances too great. Even with the fastest communications, it would take years for a message to reach every world. "Commander," Captain Subin said, "my instruments are picking up something big. Really big. It's moving toward us from inside human space." "How big?" "Sir, it's the size of a moon." Dr. Heejin checked her instruments. "Confirmed. Something massive is approaching, but sir, it's not showing up as solid matter. My scanners say it's there, but also not there. Like it's existing in two places at once." Daeho made his decision. "All ships, retreat to safe distance, but stay close enough to monitor." As his fleet pulled back, he thought about the debris field, the impossible signal, and the mysterious message. For 300 years, everyone had believed the humans were gone. But what if they were wrong? "Sir," Dr. Heejin said quietly, "I don't think the humans disappeared. I think they've been here all along, watching, waiting." "Waiting for what?" She pointed at the black debris on the screen. "For whatever destroyed these ships to come back." The massive object continued to approach from human space. Daeho's instruments couldn't get a clear reading on it, but he could see its shadow against the stars. It was huge, larger than any ship ever built, and it was moving with purpose. "Sir," his communications officer said, "I'm getting reports from across the galaxy. Other fleets are seeing the same thing. Giant objects moving at the edges of human space, all of them carrying the same message." Daeho realized that this wasn't just about his fleet anymore. This was happening everywhere, all at once. After 300 years of silence, the humans were finally responding to visitors. But the question remained, were they responding as friends or as something else entirely? As the giant object came closer, Daeho could see it wasn't quite solid. Parts of it seemed to shift and flow like liquid metal. Other parts flickered in and out of existence. It was beautiful and terrifying at the same time. "All ships," he said into his communications device, "prepare for contact, and be ready for anything." The humans were back. The question was, were they still human? Admiral Jiwoo watched the alien ships through the observation window of Watchtower Prime. The hidden station had been humanity's eye on the galaxy for 300 years. Today, for the first time since the Great Withdrawal, aliens had crossed into human space. "Ma'am," Dr. Minho called from his workstation. "I'm reading 5 ships. The biosignatures match Alteran life forms. Their heart rates are elevated. They're scared." Jiwoo nodded. "Good. Fear kept people careful, and careful people lived longer." She had been commander of this station for 20 years, following in the footsteps of 12 admirals before her. All of them had waited for this day. "So Young," she called to her chief engineer, "are the gravitational field manipulators ready?" Engineer So Young looked up from her control panel. Her hands moved over controls that looked like liquid light. "Yes, ma'am. I can crush their ships anytime you give the order. But Admiral, these don't look like invasion ships. They look like explorers." Jiwoo had already noticed that. The alien vessels were scientific ships, not military ones. Their weapons were basic, meant for protection against space debris, not war. Still, protocols were protocols. "Yu Jin," she said to her best pilot, "take Interceptor 7 and shadow them. Stay invisible. I want to know everything about these ships before we make contact." Pilot Yu Jin smiled. She loved her job. Her ship was small, fast, and completely undetectable by alien sensors. Human stealth technology had advanced far beyond what the galaxy remembered. As Yujin's ship left the hidden dock, Jiwoo thought about the choice humanity had made 3 centuries ago. The galaxy had seemed safe then, full of peaceful species who talked about cooperation and shared knowledge. But humanity's deep space sensors had detected something terrible coming from the void between galaxies: the Star Devourers. At first, only a few human scientists believed the readings: giant synthetic beings that consumed entire solar systems for energy. It seemed impossible, but as more data came in, the truth became clear. Something was coming that would destroy everything. Humanity faced a choice. They could warn the galaxy and watch as panic destroyed civilization before the real enemy arrived, or they could withdraw quietly and prepare in secret. They chose to disappear. "Admiral," Dr. Minho said, interrupting her thoughts. "Yujin is sending data. The aliens found debris from a Devourer scout ship. That's why they're here." Jiwoo felt her stomach tighten. The Devourers were getting closer. Their advanced scouts had been probing the galaxy's edge for 50 years, testing defenses, learning about the species they would eventually consume. "What's the status of the alien fleet?" "They're confused and frightened," Dr. Minho replied. "Their leader is named Commander Daeho. He seems reasonable. His science officer believes the humans might still be alive." "Smart woman," Jiwoo said. "Prepare the new soul for contact. It's time Captain Taemin earned his pay." The new soul was humanity's newest diplomatic vessel. From the outside, it looked like a normal spaceship, but Captain Taemin and his crew were anything but normal. They had undergone the integration process, linking their minds with the ship's artificial intelligence. They could think and react faster than any baseline human. As the new soul moved toward the alien fleet, Jiwoo watched through the station's sensors. The ship seemed to flow through space rather than fly. Its hull shifted colors like living skin. To alien eyes, it would look almost magical. "Ma'am," So Young called out, "the aliens are trying to scan the new soul. Should I block them?" "Let them look," Jiwoo said. "They need to understand what we've become." On her screen, she could see the alien fleet's frantic activity as their sensors tried to understand the human ship. Their instruments would tell them impossible things. The ship registered as both solid matter and pure energy. Its mass seemed to change from moment to moment. Its weapons appeared to be integrated into the hull itself, but also existed in folded space. "Admiral," Dr. Minho said, "I'm reading elevated stress levels from the alien crews. They're realizing that human technology is far beyond what they expected." Captain Taemin's voice came through the communication system. "Watchtower Prime, this is New Soul. Beginning first contact protocols. The aliens are requesting communication." "Approved," Jiwoo replied. "Show them who we are, but keep the full truth for later." On the main screen, Jiwoo could see Captain Taemin appear on the alien flagship's view screen. He looked human, but the aliens would notice differences. His eyes reflected light strangely. His movements were too smooth, too precise. And when he spoke, his voice carried harmonics that baseline humans couldn't produce. "Greetings," Taemin said in perfect galactic common. "I am Captain Taemin of the Human Defense Fleet. You have entered our territory without permission." Commander Daeho appeared on the screen, clearly nervous but trying to maintain dignity. "Captain, we received a distress signal. We came to investigate. We thought all humans were gone." Taemin smiled, and Jiwoo saw several aliens step back from their view screens. The captain's smile was still human, but it carried something else now, something that suggested vast knowledge and carefully controlled power. "We never left," Taemin said. "We simply chose to step back from galactic affairs. We had important work to do." "What kind of work?" Dr. Hyejin asked from behind Commander Daeho. Jiwoo liked the alien scientist already. She asked direct questions and didn't seem intimidated by the obvious display of advanced technology. "The kind of work that keeps the galaxy from being destroyed," Taemin replied calmly. Yujin's voice came through the communication system. "Admiral, I'm detecting massive energy signatures throughout human space. Thousands of ships, maybe tens of thousands. They're all in folded space, invisible to the aliens. Jiwoo wasn't surprised. Humanity had spent 3 centuries building the largest fleet in galactic history, ships that existed partially in normal space and partially in other dimensions, vessels that could appear anywhere in the galaxy within hours, weapons that could tear holes in reality itself. "Captain Taemin," she said, "show them the truth, all of it." On the view screen, Captain Taemin nodded. Around his ship, space began to shimmer. One by one, human vessels began appearing. First dozens, then hundreds, then thousands, ships of every size and design, all bearing the advanced technology that humanity had developed in isolation. Commander Dae-ho stared in shock. "How many ships do you have?" "Enough," Taemin replied. "For what?" Captain Taemin was quiet for a long moment. When he spoke again, his voice carried the weight of 3 centuries of preparation. "Commander Dae-ho, your people found debris from a scout ship belonging to an enemy you cannot imagine. They are called Star Devourers, and they have been traveling toward this galaxy for 50,000 years. Every civilization that has ever existed in this galaxy has been destroyed by them. 17 times they have come. 17 times they have consumed every living world." The alien bridge fell silent. "We didn't disappear, Commander. We evolved. Everything about us, our technology, our society, our very biology, has been redesigned for one purpose: to break the cycle of extinction." Dr. Hyejin stepped forward. "Are you saying you're no longer human?" Taemin considered the question carefully. "We are what humanity chose to become when faced with the greatest threat in galactic history. We are still human in the ways that matter, but we are also something more." "What do you want from us?" Commander Dae-ho asked. "Right now, we want you to leave," Taemin said. "Go back to your people, tell them what you've seen, but also tell them this: the Devourers will arrive within the next 50 years. When they come, they will destroy everything unless someone stops them. And you can stop them? We are the only ones who can try." As the alien ships prepared to leave, Jiwoo felt the weight of responsibility settle on her shoulders. For 3 centuries, humanity had prepared for this war. They had sacrificed their old way of life, transformed themselves into living weapons, and accepted isolation from the rest of the galaxy. Soon, they would find out if it had been enough. Professor Eunji stood in the center of the Deep Time Research Facility on New Terra. Around her, holographic images showed the history of the galaxy spanning millions of years. Each image told the same terrible story: civilizations rising, growing, strong, then suddenly disappearing without a trace. "Commander Dae-ho," she said to the Alteran officer who sat across from her, "what I'm about to show you will change how you see the galaxy forever." The alien commander had been on New Terra for 3 days now. After his encounter with Captain Taemin, he had requested permission to learn more about humanity's claims. The request had been approved at the highest levels of human government. Dr. Hyejin sat beside her commander, taking notes on a device that could barely process the advanced mathematics being shown to them. Both aliens looked tired. Learning about humanity's transformation had been difficult enough. Learning about their enemy would be worse. "Show me," Commander Dae-ho said. Professor Eunji gestured, and the room filled with images of ancient worlds. 50,000 years ago, a great civilization called the Builders controlled this galaxy. They were peaceful, advanced, and had colonized over 1,000,000 worlds. Then, in less than a century, they vanished. The images showed empty cities, abandoned space stations, and dead worlds covered in strange crystalline structures. "We found their records on a dozen different worlds," Eunji continued. "They called their destroyers the Star Devourers, synthetic beings from outside the galaxy who consume stellar energy to power themselves. The Builders tried to fight them, and failed." "How do you know all this?" Dr. Hyejin asked. "Temporal archaeology," Eunji replied. "We can read the quantum traces left by past events. It's technology we developed during our isolation." She gestured again, and new images appeared. These showed different civilizations, all at different time periods. Every 50,000 years they return, The Vorthon Empire, the Crystalline Hegemony, the First Galactic Republic, all destroyed by the same enemy. Commander Deho leaned forward. Are you saying this has happened before? Multiple times? 17 times, Yunji confirmed. This galaxy has been home to 17 different galactic civilizations. All of them were destroyed by the Star Devourers. We are number 18. The weight of this information settled over the two aliens. Dr. Hyojin spoke first. But why? Why do they keep coming back? Because they have to, said a new voice. Director. Jae-sung entered the room, followed by Field Commander Dong-hyun. Both men had the same enhanced look as Captain Taemin, human, but changed. The Devourers are not like us, Director Jae-sung explained. They don't have planets or homes. They are massive synthetic consciousnesses that exist inside world ships the size of moons. They travel between galaxies, consuming all the stellar energy they can find, then moving on when nothing is left. Field Commander Dong-hyun activated his own holographic display. It showed the edge of the galaxy, where space was dark and empty. They're coming from there. Our deep space sensors have been tracking them for 200 years. The image zoomed in to show massive objects moving through the void. They were huge beyond imagination, each one larger than most space stations. Their surfaces were covered in strange geometric patterns that hurt to look at. How many? Commander Daeho asked. 47 world ships, Commander Dong-hyun replied, each one capable of consuming an entire solar system in a matter of days. Dr. Hyojin looked pale. How can anyone fight something like that? Professor Yunji smiled grimly. That's what every previous civilization asked. They all tried the same things. Massive fleets, planet-killer weapons, attempts at negotiation. Nothing worked. So how are humans different? Because we cheated, Director Jae-sung said. We had something the previous civilizations didn't have, advance warning. We knew they were coming centuries before they arrived. He gestured to Commander Dong-hyun, who began explaining humanity's preparations. We spent 300 years studying every previous extinction event. We learned from every failure. We identified patterns in devourer behavior and found their weaknesses. The holographic display changed to show human space, but instead of the empty territory the aliens expected, it revealed vast fleets of ships hiding in folded dimensions. We built our entire civilization around fighting this enemy. Commander Dong-hyun continued. Every human settlement is also a military base. Every civilian ship can become a weapon. Every citizen has been trained for war. Commander Daeho stared at the display. How many ships do you have? Enough to outnumber the Devourers 1,000. To 1, Commander Dong-hyun replied. But numbers aren't everything. These enemies are smart, adaptable, and have been perfecting their methods for millions of years. Dr. Acha entered the room carrying a bioscanner. She was the team's expert on Devourer technology, having spent decades studying the remains of their scout ships. There's something else you need to know, she said to the aliens. The Devourers left something behind during their last visit. She activated her scanner and pointed it at Commander Daeho. The device beeped softly and showed normal readings. Then she pointed it at herself. The scanner screamed. What's wrong with it? Dr. Hyojin asked. Nothing's wrong, Dr. Acha replied calmly. It's reading my DNA. Human DNA has been changed by exposure to Devourer technology 50,000 years ago. We carry traces of their quantum signature in our genetic code. Professor Yunji nodded. That's why humans are different from other species. Why we're more aggressive, more adaptable, more willing to take risks. We were infected by the enemy, but instead of being destroyed, we evolved. You're immune to them? Commander Daeho asked. Not immune, Dr. Acha corrected. But we can understand them in ways other species cannot. We can predict their behavior, adapt to their weapons, and most importantly, we can hurt them. Field Commander Dong-hyun activated a new display. This one showed a battle between human and Devourer ships. The human vessels moved like living things, flowing through space in impossible ways. Their weapons created tears in space itself, reaching through dimensions to strike their targets. This was our first real engagement with a Devourer scout force, he explained. It happened 6 months ago at the edge of our territory. The aliens watched in fascination and horror as human ships seemed to merge with each other, creating larger vessels that combined the consciousness of multiple crews. These hybrid ships moved with intelligence and purpose that went beyond anything they had ever seen. The Devourers adapt quickly to conventional weapons, Commander Dong-hyun continued. But they have trouble adapting to weapons that exist partially outside normal spacetime. Our ships can attack from multiple dimensions simultaneously. How do you control them? Dr. Hyojin asked. We don't control them, he replied. We become them. Human consciousness can merge temporarily with artificial intelligence. During battle, our pilots literally become their ships. They think at digital speeds while retaining human intuition and creativity. Commander Daeho was quiet for a long time. When he finally spoke, his voice was small. You're not human anymore, are you? Professor Yoonji considered the question. We are what humanity became when faced with extinction. We kept the parts of ourselves that mattered, our curiosity, our determination, our care for other life forms. But we changed everything else. The question now, Director Jae-sung said, is what happens to the rest of the galaxy. The Devourers will arrive within 50 years. When they do, every world will be at risk. What do you want from us? Commander Daeho asked. Right now, nothing, Commander Dong-hyun replied. Go back to your people. Tell them what you've learned. But don't tell them everything. If the galaxy panics, civilization will collapse before the real enemy arrives. As the meeting ended, Dr. Hee-jin asked one final question. Will you win? The human officers looked at each other. Professor Yoonji answered for all of them. We will fight until nothing remains of us. Whether that will be enough, we'll find out together. High Admiral Insu stood at the center of the largest war room ever built by human hands. The command vessel, Earth's Vengeance, was 20 kilometers long and held the greatest military minds of the species. Today, they would make decisions that would determine the fate of all life in the galaxy. Around the massive circular table sat representatives from every hidden human colony. Some appeared in person, others as holograms transmitted across vast distances. All of them had spent their lives preparing for this moment. The Devourer main fleet has entered our galaxy, Admiral Insu announced. Long-range sensors confirm 47 world ships, exactly as predicted. They have begun systematic consumption of outer rim systems. Strategic Coordinator Kyung-min activated the central display. It showed the galaxy from above, with red dots marking Devourer positions and blue dots showing human forces. The enemy is following Pattern 7, she reported. They're moving inward in a spiral, consuming uninhabited systems first to build energy reserves. This gives us approximately 18 months before they reach populated worlds. Fleet Admiral Bo-ram leaned forward. Her face bore scars from the integration process, the procedure that allowed humans to merge with their ship's systems. My hunter-killer squadrons have engaged 3 of their scout groups. We've confirmed their adaptation rate, 7 hours to develop countermeasures to new weapons. Casualties? Admiral Insu asked. Minimal. We lost 16 ships, but they were all volunteer consciousness transfers. The pilots uploaded their minds to the fleet network before their vessels were destroyed. Commander Daeho, who had been granted observer status, shifted uncomfortably in his chair. The casual way humans discussed death and consciousness transfer still disturbed him. Dr. Hye-jin, sitting beside him, took notes on everything she witnessed. What about the civilian populations? Asked Admiral Wanbin, representing the outer colonies. We have 3 billion humans scattered across 200 worlds. All civilian populations are being relocated to fortress worlds, replied Strategic Coordinator Kyung-min. The evacuation is proceeding on schedule. However, Admiral, we need to discuss the other species. The room fell silent. This was the question everyone had been avoiding. The Galactic Council still doesn't know what's coming, continued Kyung-min. Their early warning systems can't detect Devourer signatures. By the time they realize the threat, it will be too late for evacuation. Admiral Insu looked around the table. Recommendations? We could warn them, suggested Admiral Huansu from the Medical Corps. Give them time to prepare even if their preparations would be inadequate. Fleet Admiral Boram shook her head. Panic would destroy galactic civilization faster than the Devourers. We've seen the models. Mass evacuation attempts would lead to resource wars, system-wide conflicts, and the collapse of trade networks. So we let them die ignorant? Admiral Wanbin asked. We let them live normal lives until the end, replied Strategic Coordinator Kyungmin. It's kinder than 50 years of terror. Commander Daeho couldn't stay silent any longer. You're talking about billions of lives, trillions of beings who could help fight. Admiral Insu turned to him. Commander, you've seen our preparations. You understand what we've become. Do you really think your people could adapt to our methods in 50 years? The question hung in the air. Dr. Hyojin answered, for her commander. No. It took you 300 years to become what you are. We don't have that time. Exactly, said Fleet Admiral Boram. The other species would be a distraction we can't afford. This war will be won or lost by human actions alone. Admiral Tae Young, representing the intelligence services, activated a new display. We have one advantage the previous civilizations lacked. We know exactly how the Devourers think. The display showed complex mathematical models. They operate on pure logic, optimizing for maximum energy consumption with minimal resource expenditure. They don't understand concepts like sacrifice, honor, or fighting for others' survival. How does that help us? Asked Admiral Wanbin. Because we can be illogical, replied Admiral Tae-young. We can make choices that don't make sense from their perspective. We can sacrifice valuable resources to save worthless ones. We can fight battles we know we'll lose just to gather information. Strategic Coordinator Kyung-min brought up the battle plans humanity had been developing for 3 centuries. Operation Final Dawn has 17 phases. Each phase is designed to exploit a different aspect of Devourer psychology. The display showed the Sol system, Earth's home. It looked normal, but Dr. Hyojin noticed strange structures around the sun and planets. Phase 1 begins when they reach the outer defense grid, Kyungmin continued. We'll use the weaponized solar systems to channel them toward specific choke points. Weaponized solar systems? Commander Daeho asked. Admiral Insu smiled grimly. We've been busy for 300 years, Commander. Every star system in human space has been modified. We can control stellar output, create artificial black holes, and manipulate gravitational fields on a massive scale. Phase 2 involves the Consciousness Transfer Protocol, Fleet Admiral Boram added. When our ships are destroyed, the crew's minds are uploaded to the fleet network. They can then be downloaded into new vessels within hours. You're talking about digital immortality, Dr. Hyojin said. We're talking about victory, replied Admiral Boram. The Devourers destroy ships and bodies. They can't destroy uploaded consciousness. For the first time in galactic history, they'll face an enemy that literally cannot be killed. The discussion continued for hours. The aliens learned about humanity's biomechanical fusion technology, their dimensional weapons, and their ability to exist partially outside normal spacetime. Each revelation made it clear that humanity had transformed itself into something unprecedented. There's one more thing, said Ambassador Hyojin, speaking for the first time. We need to discuss what happens after. After what? Commander, Daeho asked. After we win, she replied. If we defeat the Devourers, humanity will be the only military power left in the galaxy. The other species will be defenseless civilian populations under our protection. The room became uncomfortable. This was the question that kept human leaders awake at night. We can't go back to what we were, Admiral Insu said quietly. The integration process, the consciousness transfers, the fusion with our technology, these changes are permanent. We've become something beyond baseline humanity. So what do we become to the galaxy? Asked Ambassador Hyojin. Strategic Coordinator Kyung-min answered. Guardians. We'll protect the other species from threats they can't handle themselves. But we can never again be equal members of a galactic community. Why not? Dr. Hyojin asked. Fleet Admiral Boram gestured to the display showing human war technology. Because we're too powerful. Our ships can appear anywhere instantly. Our weapons can destroy solar systems. Our minds can process information at digital speeds. If we returned to normal galactic society, we would dominate it whether we wanted to or not. So you choose isolation again, Commander Deho said. We choose responsibility, Admiral Insu corrected. The galaxy will need protectors, threats from outside, problems that require our unique capabilities. We'll be there when needed, but we won't interfere with normal galactic civilization. The War Council concluded with formal approval of Operation Final Dawn. As the representatives prepared to return to their fleets, Ambassador Hyojin approached the two aliens. You understand now why we withdrew 300 years ago, she said. We saw what was coming, and we chose to become the weapon the galaxy would need. At what cost? Commander Deho asked. Ambassador Hyojin looked out at the stars through the command vessel's massive windows. Human ships filled the void as far as the eye could see, their hulls gleaming with technology that bordered on the magical. At the cost of being human, she replied. We kept our hearts and minds, but we gave up our humanity to save humanity itself. As the aliens prepared to return to their own space, Dr. Hyojin asked one final question. Do you ever regret it? Ambassador. Hyojin considered the question for a long moment. Ask me again after the war is over. Supreme Commander Wu Jin stood on the bridge of the Eternal Soul, watching the Devourer main fleet approach the Sol system. After 18 months of strategic retreats and calculated losses, the final battle had come to humanity's home. The Beur enemy fleet was a sight that would have broken the spirit of any previous civilization. 47 world ships, each the size of Earth's moon, moved through space with mechanical precision. Their surfaces crawled with harvesting equipment designed to strip entire planets down to their cores. All fleet commanders, report status, Wu Jin ordered. Captain Haewon's voice came through the communication system from her vessel, New Incheon. First wave ready for deployment. 12,000 ships in attack formation. Admiral Yeon-su reported from the fleet's flagship. Second wave in position. The Eternal Soul and her escorts are prepared for close engagement. Dr. Sung Ho's voice echoed from deep within the ship's consciousness network. Consciousness transfer protocol is active. We have backup downloads for every crew member in the fleet. Wu Jin nodded. Operation Final Dawn was humanity's ultimate strategy, designed to use every advantage they had gained during 3 centuries of preparation. Today would prove whether it was enough. Chief Engineer Chul Wu, status on the Sol weapon? From deep. Beneath Earth's surface, Chul Wu responded. All systems ready, Supreme Commander. The planetary core has been completely replaced with a controlled singularity. We can project its effects across the entire system on your command. Through the bridge windows, Wu Jin could see the first phase of the battle beginning. Captain Haewon's ships emerged from folded space directly in the path of the Devourer fleet. The human vessels moved like living things, their hulls flowing and shifting as they engaged the enemy. The Devourers responded with mechanical efficiency. Gims of pure energy lanced out from their world ships capable of destroying entire planets. But the human ships seemed to dance between the attacks, existing partially in multiple dimensions to avoid damage. First wave reporting successful engagement, Captain Haewon announced. We're drawing them into the Terran defense grid as planned. The Terran defense grid was humanity's greatest engineering achievement. Every object in the Sol system, planets, asteroids, even the sun itself, had been converted into a weapon. As the Devourer fleet advanced, the modified celestial bodies began their attack. Mars opened like a flower, revealing massive gravitational manipulation devices. The red planet had been hollow for 2 centuries, its interior converted into the largest weapon ever built. Gravitational waves washed over the Devourer fleet, crushing several of their smaller vessels. Jupiter's moons began moving in impossible patterns, their orbits adjusted by hidden engines. Each moon was now a kinetic projectile the size of a small planet. When they struck the Devourer world ships, the impacts released energy equivalent to stellar explosions. Enemy adaptation detected, reported Dr. Sung Ho from the Consciousness Network. They're adjusting their shields to compensate for gravitational weapons. Estimated time to full adaptation, 6 hours. Phase 2, begin now, Wu Jin ordered. Admiral, Yunsu's eternal soul led the second wave of attack. But this ship was different from any vessel ever built. Its consciousness was composed of 10,000 human volunteers who had uploaded their minds permanently into the ship's systems. The eternal soul didn't just fly through space, it thought its way through dimensions. The ship could exist in multiple realities simultaneously, attacking from directions that didn't exist in normal physics. As the great vessel engaged the largest Devourer world ship, something unprecedented happened. The artificial intelligences controlling the enemy began to show signs of confusion. For the first time in millions of years, they encountered something they couldn't understand. They're trying to adapt to our thought patterns, Dr. Sung Ho reported. But human consciousness merged with artificial intelligence creates paradoxes their logic systems can't resolve. The battle raged across multiple dimensions. Human ships that were destroyed simply reformed from quantum foam. Their crew's consciousness instantly transferred to new vessels. The Devourers found themselves fighting an enemy that became stronger each time it was defeated. Supreme Commander, Captain Haywan called out, we're seeing something new. The Devourers are showing signs of frustration? They're breaking their optimal attack patterns. Wu Jin smiled grimly. This was what humanity had been counting on. The Devourers had spent millions of years perfecting their methods against logical, predictable enemies. They had never faced opponents who fought with creativity, sacrifice, and the willingness to make choices that made no strategic sense. Phase 3. Initiate consciousness overflow, he ordered. Throughout the human fleet, a remarkable transformation began. The uploaded consciousness of destroyed crew members began merging not just with new ships, but with each other. Individual human minds combined into collective intelligences that spanned entire fleets. The result was devastating to the Devourers. They suddenly faced opponents who could think at digital speeds while retaining human intuition, creativity, and the ability to make leaps of logic that no artificial intelligence could follow. Enemy fleet showing signs of systematic failure, Dr. Sung Ho reported. Their coordination is breaking down. They can't predict our actions. But the Devourers weren't finished. The largest world ship, their fleet command vessel, began charging, a weapon that could destroy entire solar systems. Readings showed it was preparing to sacrifice itself to eliminate Earth and everything in the system. All ships, final phase, Wu Jin commanded. Protect Earth at all costs. The human fleet converged on the massive enemy vessel. Ships that had been fighting independently began to merge, their hulls flowing together like liquid metal. Soon, instead of thousands of individual vessels, there were dozens of massive composite ships, each one controlled by the merged consciousness of hundreds of crews. The battle became a test of will as much as technology. Human ships threw themselves against the Devourer flagship, sacrificing themselves to prevent it from reaching Earth. Each destroyed vessel bought precious minutes for the final weapon to charge. Chul Wu Jin called to his chief engineer. How much longer? 60 seconds, Supreme Commander. But sir, activating the Sol weapon will destroy everything in the system, including us. Understood. All ships, begin evacuation to folded. Space. Sir, Admiral Yansu interrupted. The eternal soul cannot retreat. Our consciousness is too integrated with normal space. If we leave, the weapon won't have a targeting system. Wu Jin felt his heart sink. The eternal soul contained 10,000 human minds. They were volunteering to die so the weapon could be properly aimed. Admiral, are you certain? Supreme Commander, we made this choice long ago when we merged with the ship. We'll guide the weapon and ensure every Devourer is destroyed. As the human fleet retreated to safety in folded dimensions, the Sol weapon activated. Earth's modified core projected a controlled black hole effect across the entire solar system. The weapon was designed to convert synthetic matter back into base energy, the one thing the Devourers couldn't defend against. The effect was spectacular and terrible. The Devourer world ships, which had survived millions of years and conquered countless civilizations, simply ceased to exist. Their synthetic matter was torn apart at the quantum level and converted back into the energy that had created them. In moments, the threat that had destroyed 17 galactic civilizations was gone. But the cost was evident. The Sol system was devastated. Earth survived, protected by the weapon's careful calibration, but everything else was changed. The sun flickered with new energy patterns. The other planets had been moved from their orbits by gravitational effects, and the Eternal Soul, with its 10,000 volunteer consciousness, was gone. As the human fleet returned to normal space, Supreme Commander Wu Jin surveyed the aftermath. The galaxy was safe, but at a price that would take centuries to fully understand. All ships report casualties. The numbers were staggering. Millions of human lives lost, hundreds of worlds damaged, and an entire way of life forever changed. But life itself would continue. Director So Min's voice came through the communication system from the surviving command ship. Supreme Commander, I'm receiving communication requests from across the galaxy. Every species wants to know what happened. Wu Jin considered his response carefully. Tell them the threat has been eliminated. Tell them they're safe. But also, tell them that humanity will be returning to isolation. Sir, we've become something that can't coexist safely with normal galactic civilization. We're too powerful, too different. We'll watch from the shadows and protect when needed. But we can never again be part of the community we fought to save. As the human fleet began the long journey back to their hidden territories, Wu Jin reflected on what they had accomplished. The galaxy would rebuild. New civilizations would rise. Life would continue to grow and spread among the stars, and in the darkness between worlds, humanity would stand guard, forever changed by the choice they had made to become the galaxy's eternal protectors. The quarantine around human space was restored, but now, the galaxy understood its true purpose.